I'm Krista Espinar, and I'm the creator and host of the Activate Your IELTS podcast. My podcast is in the area of education and specifically in language learning. And today I'm going to do a case study talk on how to create a binge-worthy podcast. Sounds good? Let's jump in. Okay, so a little bit about my niche. You probably have no idea what IELTS is. IELTS stands for the International English Language Testing System. So IELTS is an international English language exam that people take for migration, study, or work purposes. My niche is really great because it solves a problem and it's super specific and easy to target. And I think that's one thing that's led to my success. So why I started the show? Basically, I started the show as a funnel to my business. So I started an online business and I knew nobody would find me unless I created some type of consistent content. And I also wanted to position myself as an expert in the field and provide a way for students to find me. Now, here are my 3 most downloaded episodes. They're just the first 3. There's nothing special about it, and definitely they are not my best episodes, but I think that my listeners just wanna start from the beginning. Maybe they think it's a course. I'm not sure, but that's definitely where they start. Now, here's where I get traffic, a lot of different ways. So I get organic traffic on podcast apps, and I think this is because I have IELTS in the title. So I have a good SEO title. But my biggest traffic bringers are from Apple Podcasts, Apple Core Media, Spotify, Podcast Addict, and Castbox. Also from social media. So I'm always post to my Facebook page, Facebook group, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then other interest Facebook groups related to IELTS. I definitely run targeted ads using audiograms. So I'll create an audiogram and then create an ad on Facebook and send it to a targeted audience. So I can target IELTS, people that are interested in IELTS on Facebook, and it'll run to both Facebook and Instagram. And that's doubled my downloads. I also have an email list. So I have lead magnets. I have 3 lead magnets on my website. And I used to do a lot for my podcast, and that always drives traffic to my email list. And I make sure to email my listeners each week and just remind them why they should listen and what I'm talking about. I don't think they actually listen from that email, but it does keep me top of mind. I think people find me organically through search and Yahoo. And also, I get a little bit scrappy and I post my link everywhere. I'll answer questions on Quora and use my link to help answer their question. I'll do guest interviews, guest posting. I think all of these things can really help to drive traffic. So anywhere you go, share your link. Okay, these are the 3 biggest lessons that I've learned in creating a binge-worthy podcast. And that's actually one of the biggest compliments I receive from listeners a lot is that they just binge my podcast. And they'll tell me all the stories of all the places that they listen to my podcast. But basically, I think you need to think about audience, content, and extension. So with audience, you need to identify your audience. With content, you have to make sure that you deliver high quality content, which is structured. And by extension, you need to extend your reach by maximizing your traffic. So audience, you need to identify and serve. So this means you need to understand who your audience is and what they need. I think this is a big mistake that most podcasters make is they don't know who they're serving. And I believe that you should make the podcast for your audience, not yourself, which means you need to understand what their problems are, what questions they have. And you can do this through surveying your audience and asking these questions. Then you can use that to create your content. And I think you should target your audience on social media, just like I do with my Facebook ads. Now, for content, I think you should create consistent content and always work to improve it. So create content that answers your listeners' questions and hits their pain points, which if you've done a good survey is going to give you that information. I also like to use a variety of content. So I like to teach something, give a behind the scenes view, talk about a vulnerability, a mindset block, tell stories, or have my students tell their stories. I also use a clear structure, which moves quickly. So I have an introduction, which hooks the listener. I give structured and valuable content. So point 1, point 2, point 3. And I always add a call to action so that I can get them on an email list and always be reminding them that I'm here. Now, real quick, I'm going to try to give you these tips. These are the 5 hooks that I use to engage my audience. So I like to either tell a story about me, which is a metaphor for their experience or something in the training. Or I like to start with a vulnerable moment that creates connection. So, for example, mine is about language learning. So, I'll talk about my difficulties in language learning. I like to give a statistic or a fact, which is relevant. And sometimes I like to say something controversial about my field, which will catch their attention. And most importantly, I like to use their words. So I'll take their struggles, their pain points, and I'll use that as a quote. All of this is going to create connection with your audience and make them feel like you understand them and their needs. So basically, I think that having a good hook that's connected to the audience experience is going to create a very strong connection with you and really increase the know, like, and trust factor, which is going to help them want to listen more to your podcast and binge your podcast. Okay, finally, you need to market like a business. So, you need to be doing social media, the lead magnets. It's helpful if you create a community that you can reach out to each week. And like I said, get scrappy. So, when people join my email list, I do a nurture sequence, which is focused on the podcast. And I'll do things like create Spotify playlists of different topics and send that out to them. I'll do different events or promotions. Now, to know a little bit about my podcast growth, month one for me, I had 683 downloads. Year one, I had around 50,000 downloads. And year two, I hit 200,000 downloads. In fact, on my 2-year anniversary was right when I hit 200,000 downloads, which was an awesome milestone to celebrate. Now, a lot of people want to know about monetization. Now, I think there's a lot of ways to monetize, even if you're not big enough to monetize yet. One thing you can do is always have a call to action, and this can lead to any sort of sales funnel, especially if you have a course or product that you can sell. Don't be afraid to sell those through your podcast. And you can just sponsor yourself. So if no one's going to sponsor you, just sponsor your own product by creating a little ad at the beginning and at the end, or maybe in the middle. Now, if you're really starting from nothing, you can start an affiliate program or just get some affiliate links. So for me, I recommend certain books to use off of Amazon, and Amazon has an affiliate program that you can sign up for, and you can just put those links right away. But of course, you can also start a membership, things with Patreon and things like that. You can do podcast sponsors. So I think Anchor is good for that. And Podcorn is a cool little app. And finally, like, don't be afraid to reach out to sponsors. You can just pitch yourself to sponsors that you think are aligned with your topic. It's not that hard. Just do it, or have somebody do it for you so that it feels a little bit more official. Okay, guys, so I hope that was helpful for you. And I created a little guide called the Free Guide to Hooking Your Listeners in 30 Seconds. So it goes over the 5 different hooks and it gives you some examples from my podcast, and it's totally free. So if you are interested in that, you can go to kristinaspinar.com/hook. Okay, guys, thanks so much for joining. I hope these tips were helpful. And good luck to you in your future and growing your audience and creating your bingeable podcast. Okay, see you soon.